Hello everyone, welcome or welcome back. My name is Suni and I am the maker behind ippeun here on YouTube, also available on Instagram and Ravelry with the same username. We are on to episode 11. Not a whole lot to say or to get out of the way really quickly, just the usual that everything that I mentioned will be linked in the description below. So that's where you can find the pattern, where you can find the designer's Instagram, and then also my Ravelry project page for that pattern, and that should have all the information that I might not mention here or in the description. And of course, if you have any questions about anything, you can always comment or DM me on Instagram. Either way is fine, whatever's easiest for you. And we will go ahead and get started. One really last quick little note though, actually. The patterns I mentioned, I believe last episode, the Irresistible Snood and the Teddy belt bag, they're both now available for purchase. The Irresistible Snood through Etsy and the Teddy belt bag, I believe, through Ravelry. So you can go ahead and check those out. They are very cute patterns and I was very excited to make them last time and show them off, so I just wanted to give a little update on that. And then as usual, starting off with what I'm wearing, this is a little bit of an older piece. It's the Lacy Days Cardi, which is by Lucy Hand Stitched on Instagram. I test knit this for her sometime last year. I think it might have been spring, summertime, maybe fall? I have no idea, but it was definitely warmer than, well, it's actually getting warm now. So this was made with Berrocco Remix Light in, I believe, strawberry? Where is it? Yeah, in the strawberry colorway. I made the second size. There are 10, 1 through 10, and it is made for bust sizes 26 or 30 inches up to 62 or 66 inches, which is about 66 centimeters up to 168 centimeters. And the finished garment, because it does provide a little bit of positive ease, goes from 34 inches to 70 inches, or 86 centimeters to 178 centimeters. Sorry. I also have my notes down here instead of up there as usual, just because we are also forgot to mention in a slightly different setup. I made this a while ago as a test and I have worn it a lot since. It's not the best for, I think, colder weather, because even though you can layer it, obviously, it's still like a little, it's not like the best layer when you're wearing like thick coats or like sweaters or something like that, but it is definitely great for the transitional season, which we are kind of in right now, and I'm excited to be able to wear it again now that it's a little bit warmer. And now on to recently finished. First one is a big one, and it is the one I was really hoping to get done by this episode, so I'm glad that I did, and with some time to spare actually. Kind of hard to tell because it's so big and folded up, but it is what I was showing last episode, the durumagi coat, which is basically a hanbok design coat. If you've seen hanbok designs, it's a traditional Korean attire. There's usually two pieces, which is like the main body, which is kind of like this very non-fitted dress skirt design, and then over top that it's a, I guess, a very, very cropped jacket cover. So this is that design for the top piece, but just made into a coat, so super long. You can tell it is very long. This took, I don't know, it felt like forever because I was knitting for this for so long, but I was also exclusively knitting on this, and it's a huge piece. Like the pattern name is a coat, and it's definitely huge. I have seen a lot of people these days making knitted dresses or even crochet dresses, and they're beautiful, but I always thought that's too much work. I don't know if I could ever really have the patience and motivation to finish an entire dress. And then when I was working on this, I realized this is, because it's so long, it reaches my knees. It's the length of a dress. So I realized I totally can make a dress, and it's within my wheelhouse, so maybe I will consider that sometime this year. Maybe next year. I have a lot of stuff on my queue. But yes, sorry, I forgot to mention more about the pattern. It is by the designer Sedna, sorry. And there are 8 sizes. I made the third size, medium. So the 8 size is extra small to 4XL, and it provides a finished bust of 71.5 centimeters up to 177 centimeters. And I will say, I think mine ended up a smidgen bigger than the actual size, in I think almost any direction that the pattern specified for my size, because it grew a lot in size I soaked it, tepid water, a little bit of wool wash. I was very excited to use it. It was my first time doing it. And then when I squeezed out a lot of the excess water and laid it out flat to dry, somehow it had just grown like several centimeters in every possible direction, which on one hand was good because one of my sleeves was shorter than the other, and both of them were a little bit shorter than I would have wanted in general, so that kind of fixed that problem. But it was just nuts seeing how much it grew out. I'm not sure if that was yarn because this was my first time using unspun yarn. I used wooldreamers manchelopis in the colors rosa for the pink and then blanco for the sort of off-white. So I've never used unspun wool before. I'm not sure if this is a typical quality of it for it to grow so much when blocking, especially wet blocking, but I don't know. I mean, it worked out okay for me, and I'm not, like, against having an oversized coat, and it's not too far off from the, I think, specified measurements, so it's okay. Actually, one other thing I need to mention, because I feel like, I don't know, I need to talk about it and just pat myself on the back / complain. You work top down, so the widest part is at the very bottom because you do increases slowly, gradually, so you have this really long hem at the bottom, and you do a little bit of double knitting to make sure that it doesn't flare up and it doesn't curl up because it's stockinette. But the thing is, what the pattern has you do, and I wanted to follow the pattern because this was a test knit, and also because I thought it would look really nice. It has you do a, I think, tubular bind off. Doing that with unspun yarn only, not holding with anything else, just by itself. And admittedly, the manchelopis is done so that you are working 2 strands at the same time, but like, it's still 2 strands of very fragile yarn. Doing that for this was painful. It was very painful. What I had to end up doing actually was holding 4 strands together, so from 2 different places at the same time of 2 strands, so 4 strands, and doing that because otherwise it was just not working out for me. I think I generally can be a little bit aggressive when I'm doing sewn bind off, any sort of style of that, and the unspun yarn just could not put up with my, I guess, force that I was using. So 4 strands, and even that was a little tough sometimes. And also, when you're doing it, as you weave the needle through each of the stitches, and the unspun yarn, it's unspun, so it's not like twisted together, there's not a whole lot of strength and structural integrity to each strand. So when you keep weaving them through in the directions of a bind off, you like lose little bits of the fibers off the sides of the strand that you're weaving in each time. So you can only get so far before like your strand is super thin and it's like you've peeled off the layers as you work the bind off. So another layer of something difficult. But you know what? I got it done. It's not perfect, it's not pretty, and there are definitely some parts that do not look very nice. But for the most part, you can't really tell, especially because of the colorway with the like subtle variation to the like pink. It helps obscure a lot of, I guess, messier looking parts. Obviously it doesn't fix everything, but it helps cover some very small minor mistakes. And another thing I would like to note really quickly, just to flex about this pattern, is that it has pockets. This inside of it. Very cute. And this is the first pattern I've made with pockets, especially like inset pockets like this. It was just super cool, super fun to make. And I used the same yarn that I used for this accent color here. And yeah, I'm really happy with it. The biggest problem is that it's now getting warm. Like there's still some chilly days, absolutely, but like cold enough to wear this, which is like 100% wool, super thick, and because of the design, it overlaps in the front, so there's like extra warmth and thickness there. I don't know if I'll be able to wear it until like basically the end of the year, which is a little sad, but you know, what can you do? I am still definitely very happy with it, and I am excited for whenever I am able to wear it. Quick note, I mentioned this last time, but if you didn't see that, I did test the English version of the pattern, and so there's English and Korean version available. I did enjoy working with the designer. I think it was definitely a little bit of a learning curve because I haven't ever worked test knitting the, I guess, translated version of a pattern before, But yeah, I think it was very fun. It was definitely a really cool learning experience, and I would like to test for the designer again, and she said she would like that as well, so we'll see, maybe sometime in the future. And then I only have one other finished object, which is, it was made and finished in like, I don't know, a few hours. I finished it, I casted it on sometime last night and finished it a few hours after that. But this is for my sister. It's gonna look a little weird. I'll just show it as is. But, so this is a crochet camera cover. So she has this, I don't know, funky little film camera, and she asked me if I could make something that would cover it. So, you know, sure, gave it a go, and I used Red Heart Supersaver. This was a while ago. I mentioned a friend moving out and had some like just random yarn. This was one of those. The colorway is light raspberry. I just used a, I think 4mm crochet hook, and started at the bottom, did a chainless half double foundation, and then worked around with, I think this thing is mainly made of single crochet and half double crochet with the occasional slip stitch, triple or double crochet, and I think also like 2 or 3 triple crochets. And then it just has a very simple like chain for the strap for the button, which she made with her 3D pen, which is so cute. It's a little heart. But so this goes over that. Yeah, very simple little crochet camera cover. And yeah, this was all just completely free-handed. Like I made that bottom to fit and then just kept putting the camera on top of it, inside it, and adjusting it as I went to make sure that it would all fit nice and snug. I realized that I dropped a bunch of stitches and they were starting to ladder down. So anyways, this is something that I mentioned last episode of hoping to get a lot of progress done. And when I'll show it to you now, you'll see that there isn't much progress done compared to last time, I think. And the reason for that, sorry that's sticking through there, is because if you've looked at the Ravelry project page, you'll have seen a very long, very sad history of this project. And technically, it's even longer story because I mentioned a while ago that I wanted to make a sweater for my sister, and what I was using was some recycled yarn that I got from a sweater that I thrifted and unraveled. And it was a really pretty like green blue cotton linen blend. And I ran out of yarn and I did not have enough to make the size I needed. Now that I'm thinking about it, I might have. Anyways. So I'm making the step-by-step sweater by Florence Miller. I've made this sweater only one other time, but I've looked at the pattern quite a lot because of the amount of times I've had to frog and redo this skit for my sister. So that didn't work out, and then I recast it on with Lion brand re-spun, which is 100% recycled polyester in the colorway alpine. And I originally cast it on in size D, which is the 4th size. There are 7 sizes, A through G, which provides a finished bust of 90 centimeters to 150 centimeters. And so I cast that one on, and then as I finally finished the raglan increases and split the sleeves and the body, I started working the body, I realized this thing is huge. And I also know that my sister wanted something that wasn't super oversized. She preferred a more fitted fit than oversized. And I was like, oh no, this is pretty bad. So I was originally planning to just do some decreases and try and like cinch and do like maybe I guess semi-waist shaping, except it really just would go straight down the body. But I asked my older sister to borrow or just if she had a shirt that she did like the fit of, so I can measure that and compare it. And that was definitely way smaller than what I had, so I completely frogged everything. It was a little and I recast on in a smaller size, so now I'm doing size B, which is the 2nd size. Definitely a big difference between the two. And I'm finally at the part where I was before I frogged the entire thing. So, you know, small victories. I'm hoping maybe, I don't know if actually I can get it done before we go out of town, because that's happening pretty soon. And I need to pack, so it's not like I have a lot of free time, but that is probably one of the highest on my priority list. I know there isn't technically a deadline, but my sister's birthday was in December. Yeah? Every time, man. Every time. There isn't technically a deadline, but her birthday was in December, so I really need to get on it and hopefully get it done in a proper size. And then next work in progress is something very exciting. It's a... okay. I initially told myself I wasn't going to be signing up to do any more test knits, but I did. And that's what this is. But in my defense, it's really cool. And I don't think it'll take that much time, and I'm also using stash yarn, so it's like, it's justifiable, in my opinion. But anyways, okay. This is, it looks a little strange, because it's like ribbing, but it stretches out. So this is going to be a halter top. It is the Helix halter, and it's designed by Jessie May. Jessie May is an incredible designer. She's the kind of person who you look at, and you're like, wow, I want to be you. I want to, like, grow up and have your life. Not grow up and have your life, because obviously, like, social media, you only see the good parts, etc. But, it's just really cool. Like, the vibes are also just so, like, wow, this is a cool person. Anyways, all that to say, I am test knitting for her. There are 9 sizes, and I am knitting the second one. So it goes from an extra small to a 5XL for bust sizes 28 to 60 inches or 71 to 152.5 centimeters. And generally it provides a little bit of negative ease, so it can be a little bit fitted. So the finished garment sizes usually go from 32 to 54 inches or 81.5 to 137 centimeters. So this will have a teeny bit of negative ease on me, I think, but we'll see when it finishes and it's blocked. I am using, like I mentioned, stash yarn. This is the, what is it, Farmer's Daughter Fibers in Squish Fingering, which is basically just 100% superwash merino, in the colorway The Girl on Webster Street. So it's, for the most part, a very plain beige, kind of like off-white, and then with these very faint little purple and blue speckles all throughout. And so it does look really cool when it's being knitted up, because for the most part it is very, you know, plain one color, but then there's these little tiny bits of color, and especially combined with the, I guess, lace pattern, and I just think it looks really cool. That has a deadline, I believe, in early April, so I have a lot of time. And considering how it's, you know, a tank top, there is a version with sleeves, or you can make sleeves. I'm not doing that, I'm just doing as is. I think it'll be really good, and I'll be able to get a lot of wear out of it that way. But so I've already, you know, joined in the round. It's top down, obviously, and yeah, it'll probably take a little bit to keep working because this is fingering weight yarn, and it's on, what is it? It's actually on 3.5mm needles. I don't have that much left to go, so I'm definitely good on the deadline. So this is, it's definitely fun to work on, but I'm trying to limit myself to focus on my sister's birthday sweater first. But then also, this is very much what I'm realizing is an ADHD thing. I got diagnosed recently, and it's kind of putting a lot of stuff in perspective. Like, why I keep wanting to start random projects, because it, like, appeases that, like, novelty, ooh, something fun, new, shiny, part of my brain. I'm just going with it for this one because I still really want it. Recently, Stray Kids had a concert in, I believe it was Japan, and I think 4 of them were wearing the Loverboy beanies. You may have seen them before. I think they have a very distinct look about them, but basically they're these beanies with different, like, ear styles on them. So there's a pretty popular one with the cat ear. There's also a rabbit ear style, which is just a really long floppy ear. There's also fox style, which is like the cat ear, basically a pointy ear, and then also a tail in the back of the hat. They're all very cute. I got influenced, whatever. I'm very slowly starting to make one, and this is going to be in the, like, rabbit ear style. Simeon wore it, and it looked more kind of like a puppy, like Pochoko with the, like, his big floppy ears. It's just really cute, and I know it's like a little, it's definitely going to be not the most plain thing to wear, but it's just so cute. And I am knitting this with, I'm not sure what the yarn is. It's some stash yarn. It's 100% acrylic, I think, and then, like, medium weight yarn, which I think is like worsted weight according to Joan's whatever, which is where I bought this from. And I'm just knitting this up. I did an old Norwegian cast on. I'm just freehanding this because I'm not going to spend like $200 on a hat, basically. And the color is actually technically more of a dark gray. I don't know if it shows up that well, but the original hat is black, but I didn't really have enough of a plain black yarn, so I'm just using this. But yeah, I'm just freehanding as I go based off the pictures that I see online. And I did an old Norwegian cast on. I think tubular cast on could have also done well because, you know, would have looked a little neater, but I don't think it's really that necessary. I'm doing all twisted rib, which I have to admit is a little bit of a pain, but I wanted to make sure that the ribbing looked really clean and the brim is folded up over itself. So I can't get away with doing half twisted rib because there is part of it where you'd see, you know, the other side. So at least for now I'm doing full twisted, but I might see once I get to the length that I want the brim to be, switching to just regular half twisted rib, because that way I won't have to do purling through the back loop, which I am very slow at, and hopefully that will save me a little bit of time. And I'm trying to like imagine the construction in my head. Based off the pictures of it, it's a very kind of, I don't want to say sloppy. It doesn't look like a perfect piece. It looks like deliberately imperfect in the way that some of the like, there's like loose thread in a couple places, and like the way that they're seamed together looks like very visible, which I think typically isn't what a lot of people would go for when designing or making something, but it's kind of like the look and aesthetic they're going for. But because of that, they have seams on the crown for the decreases. Not for the decreases. I think they made it in panels. So I'm kind of thinking of doing something similar, of working the round for the brim part and a little bit of the head, and then when it comes time to do the decrease for the crown, to actually start working back and forth and then attaching them together with, I think, maybe like a single crochet join. I think that might make it look like the pictures, but I'm not sure. It's all up in the air. And I also have to say, because I'm using stash yarn, I have a limited amount of it. I could maybe match the colorway, but the dye would definitely be different, and because this is a dark gray, I think you probably would be able to tell. So I'm trying to only use what I have. I have a little bit more, so it's not just this, but the big ears, I'm not sure how that's going to go. That's going to take a lot of yarn, and there's 2 of them. But we'll work on the hat first, and then see how far I get. And worst case, if I don't have enough, I'll just end up making like a super chunky version, because I do have a very chunky yarn instead. And then that's it for things that are actively on my needles. Well, things that I'm actively working on. I have actually a bunch of other stuff on my needles that are on hold. One of them, I guess I'll try to maybe finish, but I'm honestly not sure if that's going to happen. It's the Sporty knit skort. I've mentioned this a handful of times by now. Drop soft tweed in the peppercorn colorway. I casted it on, I don't know, I think almost the same day that the pattern came out, or maybe the day after, and knit a bunch, was doing a bunch of modifications, and then very belatedly realized maybe I should think it through and do the math before I start adding a bunch of increases. I did the math and I realized it wasn't going to turn out like okay, or even close to what I wanted. So I one day had some, like an hour or two, I just frogged the entire thing. A little tragic, a little heartbreaking, yet again, you know how it is. But I am hoping to cast on in the correct size. I'm also doing a different size, I realized that math was wrong too. And follow the pattern exactly, block it, hopefully, to make sure that it is looking how I want it to look and fitting how I want it to fit. And go from there, because I did want to make a second version, and if I have any modifications, I'll learn from this one and do it for that. Another thing I want to say is I am expecting my Explorer Knits and Fibers, the, I believe, Winter Solstice pre-order to come in very soon. I'm not sure if I want to bring that yarn with me on my trip, which is about a week long, and have that as a project, because I want to have a kind of like vacation project to work on. The last vacation I was on, which was also about a week, that's when I casted on my step-by-step sweater, and I cast on and finished it during that trip. So and that just was very fun to me. It was a little bit of like time pressure, like the last 2 days I really wanted to make sure I had it done, but it's very fun. And now that I have that piece and it's like, oh, I made this during this trip, I think it's really something really fun and cute about that. So I wanted to try and do that again, especially because there's going to be like, what, 5-6 hours on a plane / at the airport. I think it'd be good to have a project to work on. but I don't know what. So I was thinking maybe using the yarn that's going to be coming soon and using that for the trip. I don't know what to actually make. I feel like making another sweater is a little ambitious because there's a lot of stuff like planned on the itinerary. So maybe something smaller like a vest. I don't know. I do know that some of the yarn that's coming is DK weight, and I have a sweater's quantity, so maybe I could make the couture cardigan, which I have in my library, and it is a DK weight. But again, that's a lot of knitting, so I'm not sure. I'll think about it, and after I'm back from my trip, I'll have hopefully blocked it and have a finished, exciting little piece to show you. And also maybe a few acquisitions. There are a few yarn stores that I'm hoping to go to. Hopefully not too much, but something maybe a little fun. But that is all for today. Thank you for sticking around. I think this was kind of long. I'm almost 100% sure that I was talking really fast this episode. So I am sorry for that. And I'm also sorry for all the little interruptions and things falling around. Because this new setup, in order to get my mic closer, it's balanced on top of stroop boxes. So it's not very secure and balanced, but that is all. Thank you again. Sorry for rambling, but I appreciate you sticking around, and I will see you in a couple weeks from now. Take care. Bye bye.